Hi, welcome to my channel again. This is Slanted Glasses. Today I'm going to do a review of a novel, The Secret of the Sixth Magic by Lyndon Hardy. I don't know why I said Barry.
Almost a Jill sandwich.
Oh, Barry. It's a Resident Evil reference, if you get it. When I bought this book, I never know that it's actually a part of a series of books. He already published 4 books in this universe. The first one is in the 80s, the second one is from the 84, the third one is from 88, and the last one is from 2017. So I'm really curious about that. This is going to be non-spoiler review if you still want to read this. The story is about this world where everything was controlled by magic, and there are 5 types of magic. Let me read it for you. Wait. There are thaumaturgy, and then alchemy, and then magic, and then sorcery, and then wizardry. 5 types of art, of the craft that is really interconnected with the life of the people there, of the kingdom, of the political stuff there. So it's quite interesting on that regard. And the protagonist is someone who is trying to be the master of each art, but he always failed at 5 of them. So looking at the title, you may make predictions of what will happen with the protagonist, because it said 6th magic. But actually the book is quite surprising. It has some twists and turns that is oftentimes caught me off guard. But I have to say that I didn't really enjoy it. I cannot say that the book is bad per se. I mean, I will go into detail about that. But if you really like magical stuff, intricate system of stuff, maybe this is the book for you. I cannot say that it's bad because, well, I will go into detail about it later. But maybe it's kind of like life itself, where it's not really many magical things happen to you. Everything sucks. You're always failing. You always mediocre at stuff, and then but you have to live somehow and make do, and probably you get something that's not really great. Probably that's the theme of the book. But before we get into why I didn't enjoy, let me talk about why it is good. Actually, the good stuff is the author probably really enjoying to build, really enjoying to plan stuff, because the world is really fleshed out. I think the system, the law, the lore of the world is really intricate. It's really original. I never see that in a book about magic, which usually young adult novels. In this book, I really enjoyed the world building and the lore about it. I think if the story was given more space to breathe, it will come out really epic. The magic system itself, I already told you, there are 5. It has its own law, it has its own core principle. It's really interesting, actually. And then I already told you about the unpredictability of the plot. I made prediction about how this series gonna end, but it has twists and turns. But the good stuff about this book is sabotaged, I think, in my opinion, by the bad part. The bad part of the book, I think, is very crucial in my opinion, which is characters. So I cannot empathize with any of them. The protagonist is really cocky. He's a loser, basically. He's cartoonishly incompetent. You know, when he tries to do things, he slam into things. His feet get tangled in stuff, and he fall, and people laugh at him. It happens several times, but he is also arrogant about it. He still feels that he's special. He has an arc. He's the only characters that has an arc, but in the end it's not really great. And then the other characters is worse than him. Everyone just act not like people, but more of a exposition dumper, you know, because the author needs to explain everything, explain the intricacies of the world. So each and every character spends paragraphs and paragraphs just to explain how this works, how the system works, why it doesn't work. This creates a problem because when you try to explain through many pages of explanations without you making the reader connect with the character who explains to you the world, you don't care. So this problem is hurting the world that the author is trying to make. It's really hurting the storytelling. It stops the pace of the story just to explain stuff to us, and then it doesn't matter because when the explaining is happening, it doesn't care, and we only understand it later when it's already happened in action. So this is probably writing 101. You have to show, not tell, because we doesn't care if you tell. It feels like reading a textbook of a subject. We cannot care unless it happens while it's in action. Even in the emergency situations, the plot just stops because this character has to explain every single facet of the thing he wants to explain to the main character, which doesn't make sense. There are hailstones, there are comet and demons attacking, but you have to stop because this character and that character needs to explain everything. And don't get me started on the female characters. It's just so bad, guys. There are only two main female characters here, and they have agency. There are independent women. So it's more in a fine line between female character as complementary for the protagonist and female character as people. So I don't think the reader nowadays, especially people who care about this kind of stuff, people who care that character is supposed to be people and not just props, it's going to be hard read. I don't really enjoy any of the character. Now the villain is really classic villain of the magical story, you know, with robes and cackling. He cackling a lot. He did this all the time, like he throws his head back and laughing after he explains about his plan. But the most interesting part is the author knows that is really stereotypical, because he is self-aware. In one part of the book, the villain said to the main characters, "Oh, you act like a villain in the epic stories you read, because you explains all of your plans before you get thwarted." So I think the author is already familiar with those trappings of writing fantasy, but he still falls in it anyway. So I don't understand why. Why, Mr. Lyndon? I think it has potentials, but he stumbles a lot, just like Gemidon. But with all that said, the villain is really interesting. Somewhat interesting, because he's a force to be reckoned with. In this world, the five magic of this world is stopped working, and it creates political wars in the world. But again, it's not really told or shown in a great way. It's just explained away. There is a war suddenly between who and who, why, and then the prince is now gone. Why, when, what happened? I think it needs rereading several times, but I don't feel I have to read it again just to understand what happened. Thing that I want to talk about is about planting and payoff. In the stories, in movies, you might familiar with this when you shown an object or a person that looks like that's insignificant in the first act, and then it came back on the third or in the second act. Turned out it is an important thing to have, but the way the protagonist came upon something that will be paid off in the later part of the story is not natural. He's just stumbled upon it. So while he already brings something from from the beginning of the story, but it's not important until the very end. It's just something that he bring. I mean, I think it's really good if the device that he always had from the beginning of the story became really important, because it's something about his family. So I think it will be more powerful. But instead, the author just have Gemidon have this other new things. He just stumbles upon it. It's not natural. It's not really interesting. So everything is not interesting except for the world building. Okay, so I think that is all. My conclusion is I still don't know whether it is good or bad, but I think with the concept that Mr. Hardy had here, he probably needs to collaborate with other writers who cares more about building characters, to build a plot that feels natural, because the world is actually pretty interesting, but he sabotaged it with bad pacing, with telling, not showing, with bad characters. There's none. There's nobody I can connect to, because the protagonist is insufferable. So I think if I need to give ratings, maybe 1 to 10, it probably, I don't know, 3. I'm really sorry. But I'm really curious about the other work of this author. I don't know if you already read all of his story. Maybe you can comment and let me know if I should read his works or not. So that's all for today. I'm really thankful for you guys for listening, for seeing this review. This is the first review that I'm doing. I hope you'll enjoy it. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, blah blah blah. I'm still in the beginning, so I'm not sure that people watch this. But if you be so kind, you may like or subscribe and try to share it with other people. Thank you so much. I'll see you again later in Slanted Class.